Welcome everyone to Let's Play Hand of Fate. I'm Nye. Some time ago I played through the beta of this game before everything was done, set in stone, and complete, and now it is time for me to return to the table, I guess. Let's go. New intro.
One more for the game.
It's kind of quiet.
Come, sit.
Take our final journey here.
You have passed the 13 gates,
Yeah.
and you come to my table to play the game of life and death.
Like a boss.
Your stake is wagered. I refuse none who come here. Yet, I say, turn back.
I do like how he says that. I appreciate it. So, this is,
Back so soon? I knew you would not falter.
This is a bit of a cursed game for me. So let me say this is not the first time I'll be going into this. I actually had gotten a fair distance into the game in a series that I had been recording somewhat earlier, and I had been plagued with endless recording issues, everything from people not being able to be heard, microphones disconnecting, sound desyncing, so much so that I've probably recorded half again as many episodes as you guys will ever see, which I would not upload because they're not good enough. So, yeah. Hopefully we're not going to have any problems. Let's begin.
The game begins. One lives and one dies. Let us see what you are made of.
So for any of you who are not aware of what Hand of Fate is, and so far the game has not really shown itself to be very much, Hand of Fate is a card game that is also a roguelike. So let's go ahead and hit continue, and the dealer's going to show us what we're doing. So
Here
every...
is the first member of my court, the Jack of Dust. 12 in all must fall before you may challenge me.
So, the guy sitting opposite from me at the table is the dealer. He is a very talkative sort. I'll try to be silent whenever he's talking because I actually like a lot of his dialogue. He has a very interesting voice and a very interesting manner of speaking, and he is how we get the story of this game, because there is kind of a story that goes there, and you just gotta kind of piece it together. So as I said, this is a card game. The dealer mixes a little bit of tarot cards, a little bit of standard deck of cards, and ends up, and then his own kind of... It's very hard to describe because I can't think really of a game that really does the similar thing, but he also has a ton of just unique cards that he will lay down in a pattern across the table, and that pattern will be our dungeon, and by moving along, I will be able to explore the dungeon, which you're going to see in just a minute. At every game, you have a single target, one enemy that you're trying to defeat. So this time we're trying to defeat the Jack of Dust, and that's going to change things. So the Jack of Dust, in the ruins of an ancient temple among the eternally shifting sand dunes, lives the mysterious leader of the Desert Bandits. Hush you. Infamous for his reign of terror over any spice caravans that dare take their chances traveling through his domain, he rules as a king over the barren lands. The bandit leader is stronger and faster than most bandits encountered. He can become enraged, making powerful, unblockable attacks. He also inspires his followers to steal gold on each hit. So, the dealer's now going to deal out his cards. You can see there's multiple decks. Each one's actually do mean something. You'll notice that the deck he's actually dealing in my direction is rather small. That's because this is the first time we've played.
Let the cards fall where they may. We begin.
So you'll notice that golden token, that's me on the map, and each of the 4 cards ahead of us actually constitutes the map itself. You'll notice that I have health, I have food, 0 gold at the moment.
You can always review your cards here.
We have equipment, multiple different equipment slots that we'll see a lot of in the future. But right now, weapon and armor is what we have. We start with light armor, and we start with a rusty axe, which does have its own set of stats. So we'll step. So by making a step, we lose a food.
That first moment, that glinting weapon, the call to action, to adventure. Truly, there is nothing like it.
So every step consumes food. For the most part. There's effects that can stop that, but let's assume that's the rule. It's very much FTL-like in that direction. And every food you consume gains you roughly 5 health, so you actually can get health back as you move along, even if you've taken a massive amount of damage. As you encounter the card will lift itself. Almost every card does this, and it's an actual event. It's not just a card. So kind of unlike FTL, where you can make multiple jumps in a sector and maybe nothing will happen, in Hand of Fate, every step is a thing. Every move is its own adventure. Twisted Canyon. You see a weapon glinting in the sunlight, lying next to a skeleton at the bottom of the canyon. The walls of the canyon are covered in thick vines, perfect for climbing. Now this is where I get to make my choice. Do I want to climb down to retrieve the weapon I've seen, or do I want to leave it? Well, we're going to climb down to retrieve the weapon because that's a smart idea, so let's go ahead and do that. And then it throws up chance cards. Now chance cards are these, and they play a lot like 3-card Monty. That's really what they are. They will be shuffled, and depending on what I select, that will decide how I complete this event. You can follow them visually. They are actually set that way, so if you are good at following them, and you kind of gain the skill eventually, you will actually be able to guarantee your success. Now, the game gets harder and harder as time moves on, so you will not always be able to make sure that happens. Success cards mean that I get the success result. Failure card means I get the failure result. Keep in mind, failure is not always bad. It just is not success. Very carefully make your way down to the bottom of the canyon. You retrieve the weapon from the ancient corpse, draw 1 weapon card. So you'll see in the lower right, those red cards are my weapon and equipment deck. So he would have kind of skipped through that deck until he found a weapon card and gave it to me. Luckily, he already had it. It's an axe. Replaces my rusty axe, does more damage, and that's about it. So we'll go ahead and equip that.
To savor. That will make you much more effective.
So I think this starting thing is very scripted, because if I remember correctly, on my first run in my original recording setup, I did also get the axe there as well in the Twisted Canyon, so I believe that this is scripted. The Maiden will be our second card.
Fair
She's
Marith.
Awesome.
I'm not surprised to find that this encounter remains vivid in your memories.
So the dealer kind of hints a little bit that these cards aren't just cards. They're kind of forced recall on you. These things have actually happened in the past. Though he doesn't quite tell us exactly how, and as far as I've gotten in the story, I haven't actually figured out what exactly is going on. The Maiden. One day in a shady forest, you encounter an elf maiden. She stops to greet you. I am Marith of the Forest Folk. My people have long helped the mortals of this realm. What boon would you ask of me? So anytime you encounter the maiden, you always get a choice of multiple things you can get. So longer life, she'll give you increased health. Not just health returned, but actually increased health. It boosts your maximum values. Ask for supplies, and she'll give you food. Ask for gold, and she'll give you gold. I think we're just going to ask for gold because it's interesting. Marith seems surprised, as unlike an adventurer to beg for coin, but very well, if that is your wish. The dealer draws you 3 gold gain cards. Now you might think, why would the dealer actually do that for me? But the dealer is actually a little bit fair in his dealings. He does really weird things, but he has to follow the rules of the game too. So each of those cards was pulled from an actual card deck, and there are multiple gold cards in there, and right now they're kind of all pretty good, so you see we got a lot of gold out of that. They are depleted from the deck, but they get shuffled in again afterwards if the deck ever runs out. I don't think I've ever seen that. It is said that the sharp-eyed adventurers may protect themselves from the worst of Lady Luck's contrary nature. Farewell, mortal. And by that she means if you actually follow the cards with your eyes when you get chance events, you will actually be able to solve it.
I was never a fan of illusion or pretense. Here, I'll make an exception.
Mr. Lionel's an interesting card. Whilst enjoying your evening meal at the local tavern, a strange old man takes the seat next to yours. He taps your shoulder quite painfully with his wooden staff to get your attention, and you notice that he appears to be a goblin, poorly disguised as a human. His wizened face grins at you with a hint of madness. My name is Mr. Lionel. If you give me what I need, boy, I will conjure up your heart's desire with this wizarding wand of my own creation. He cackles uncontrollably for a few moments and sits patiently waiting for your answer. There's some good choices here. I don't know what all of them do because I don't typically choose anything but the most base. So give him the bread from your plate's one option that gives him food. Give him 20 gold, does exactly what it says. Ask him what he needs, and you get this response. Need? I need to help you. Mr. Lionel taps his staff on the ground, then a shield materializes at your feet. There you go, old bean. He smiles a warm grin that reveals all his chipped and yellowed teeth. Your face reminds me of my son. I haven't met you before, have I? Draw 1 shield card. So the thing is that if you don't have a shield and you choose that choice on Mr. Lionel, you will always get a shield out of him. It's just kind of the way that card works. This becomes important later on. So shields give us a couple of abilities. One is Reflect. Shields with this trait allow the hero to reflect projectiles back at the attacker. This must be performed with precise timing as the projectile draws near. Press the Y button to reflect projectiles. Look for the green indicator above the hero's head. We haven't actually seen combat yet. Counter. Weapons with this trait, it's actually a shield in this case, allow the hero to counter their foe's attacks. Look for the green attack indicators, yada yada yada. So
you
we'll go ahead
can
and
now
equip
reflect
that.
your opponent's ranged attacks using your shield.
Thank you, I appreciate
Make
that.
good use of this skill if you wish to survive.
We just talked about that. So then we go to our stairs. So the stairs actually is our ability to move next.
Seeking
Next
the
floor.
heart of it all.
So I can either turn back if I want to go explore more of the floor, or I can just take the stairs and move on. You cannot undo
You're
that.
on the final floor of our simple map. Your opponent waits here for you. Find him.
So
If you
generally,
defeat me, well, it is early to be talking about victories and losses. Let us see what you're made of.
generally the dealer will actually give you a hint that you are on the final floor. In this case, the dungeon's actually very, very small. So we're going to go to the Dead Man's Gorge. Surprisingly,
I'm sure
I
it's
actually
not
like this
called
card.
Dead Man's Gorge without reason.
While crossing the ancient rope bridges of Dead Man's Gorge, you hear sounds of movement from below. It's an ambush! Draw one monster card. And there's the Two of Dust. So now we get to see combat, and combat is where this game becomes a little bit more interesting, because the things that you're doing in the game actually affect the combat. So the fact that I have light armor, a shield, and an axe actually do change this combat than if I didn't. And you actually see the hero equipping those, and then we go fight. Yes, yes,
Hit
yes.
the counter button when you see the flash.
So then when you're fighting, it's very much a Batman Arkham style combat system. So it's very much you're fighting multiple people in a row, and every attack you have does a different thing. And there's counters and blocks and shield bashes and all that good stuff. Every enemy has a set amount of HP. You have various attacks you can perform. We'll talk more about them as we actually get to them in the future, when I'm not talking about the combat itself. When all of them die, the combat ends. Then, at the end of the combat, things may happen. You recover what you can from the dead. The dealer draws you 3 game cards. So we get to draw 1 equipment off of that, which gives us the healing cap. Any
Increasing
healing
the
we
effect of one
receive
sort
is
of
doubled.
magic with another. All you need is a channel for power, and it's simple enough.
So we haven't gotten hit, so that doesn't really matter all that much. We gain 3 food, and we gain 20 gold, which is also not going to matter all that much. Next step. Traveling Tinker. So this is a shop. In a shady grove off the beaten trail, you find a traveling merchant looking to trade with wandering adventurers. Tinkers sell items of all descriptions. So there are different types of shops. Each different type of shop has different things. Shops can appear anywhere in the dungeon, on any floor, and even can appear sequentially.
Collecting all that gold, you now have your answer. We're starting to get into the meat of the game now. The back and forth between resources and rewards.
So we have a bunch of things we can buy. So we could buy a sword, which is a little bit less damage than my axe, but has better reach. I already have a shield, so I don't need that. The Explorer's Helmet reveals the stairs encounter upon entering level, so it shows me where the stairs are, and grants a gold bonus for revealing every encounter on a level, so completing a floor. And there's pretty good reasons to do that. Then there's Damocles. So Damocles is what's known as an artifact. Artifacts can be used in battle. They have a set number of charges, denoted by those little icons at the bottom of the card, and a cooldown time. Every artifact does something unique and special, and they're generally pretty helpful. In the case of Damocles, during combat, we can press right bumper to throw knives in 8 cardinal directions. Because I have money and no reason not to, I'm just going to buy that.
Dealing with crowds. Artifacts provide powerful special abilities to use in combat, but it takes time to ready them.
Cooldown timers. We're going to go ahead and leave the shop. Worth noting is that shops are always there. They don't go away. So even if I step away from the shop, I can always turn around and go back to it. So let's say I didn't have enough money for some reason.
Hardly fair, is it?
Suddenly, a tree falls across your path, blocking the way ahead. The dealer draws you 1 monster card. Another Two of Dust. Weapons bristle from the trees around you, their wielders' faces obscured by the undergrowth. Give us all your gold or die. No! I'm going to attack the cowardly band for daring to threaten me. I could give them my gold and probably ignore the battle, but a Two of Dust is not threatening in the first place, and I'd much rather fight, to be honest with you. We're going to go ahead and skip the animation. I'll typically skip the starting of combat animations because it's not interesting to me. I've watched a lot, and you just end up seeing a ton of it. It's the same animation every time. You'll notice that the hero is now wearing the healing cap. It is actually on me. So that is one thing that the game does very, very well, is that every piece of equipment you pick up will actually change what your hero is wearing, which makes the equipment actually a little bit important, which also makes you wonder, what about the other things I'm carrying? 3 more gain cards. An equipment, another shield.
I cannot expect
Can't
you
do
to
anything.
get by without some protection.
More food that I don't need, and more food that I don't need. Okay, so we're going to get to the end of our dungeon here, our last step. Once you find the boss
You have
of the
reached
dungeon...
my first champion. A good man driven to madness by a war that took all from him. Wife and child, kith and kin. From such dark and brittle iron I forge my tools. Now we see your metal.
Thank you. Nice pun. At the end of every dungeon, you'll find your boss. Now, the boss does not have to be at the end of a pathway like we just got. Typically, actually, the boss will be on a kind of a more open level. Once you encounter the boss, the game is over. Not in terms of you're done, because you have to fight the boss, but you can't go anywhere else. You can't back away from a boss. You have to fight, so you need to be ready by the time you reach that point. So we already saw what the Jack of Dust does.
This token will unlock more cards if you can defeat this encounter.
So now we learn about the token. Now, token's kind of interesting. Look at the card, the Jack of Dust. On the very bottom is that kind of skull-shaped bronze thing. That's a token marker. Token markers say that if you successfully beat that card in the way that you're intended to, because you can complete cards in ways that you're not intended to, or at least not the correct way. If you beat the card the correct way, you unlock a token, which the dealer will give you. You get to keep this token whether you win that run or lose that run. At the end of the run, the token can be consumed, or will be consumed, rather, to get more cards. And this is important for later on, and we're going to see why once I beat the Jack of Dust. The Jack of Dust is like any other champion. He doesn't come alone. He comes with friends. Here he is. I love it, just grabs that sword in midair. You know, this kind of boss thing he does. Okay, so we're going to be in the middle of combat here, so that's the Jack.
Cannot be blocked or countered.
So what he's letting me know, what the dealer was letting me know is that there are unblockable attacks. You'll notice that the Jack attacked me with a red attack as opposed to a green attack. Red attacks cannot be blocked. So you got to watch out for that. That becomes more important later on in future things. You'll notice as I fight that we are getting a combo counter. The combo meter actually matters because you do more powerful attacks the higher your combo is. So you'll notice, you'll notice that I was knocking people down a lot faster. I've actually killed everybody except for the Jack. Now what's interesting is that, okay, I couldn't dodge out of that, that's fine. You'll notice that with the Jack here, I can kind of just focus on just him, and you can kind of melee your way through the last guy. Jack's dead, we get his card.
Down into the worms with him. Perhaps there is peace for him in the grave, poor soul. One champion has been sent to the cabinet.
Oh, what a shame.
Yet we are only at the start of our road. You will face 11 more opponents who will test your strength, your memories, and your resolve. Few fall at the first hurdle. None reach the last.
Supposedly.
We have wagered, and you have won. You may claim your rewards, yet I will also claim mine. As you improve, so do I. Balance must be retained.
So a bunch of stuff that we just heard there. So we commented on memories earlier and the fact that these cards supposedly draw on minds. So supposedly my character has once beaten the Jack of Dust already, and this is just the second time I've put him down. The dealer's also informing me that by winning, I get rewards. So for example, as a reward for defeating the Bandit Jack, you receive these cards. The Jack of Skulls. Notice the lock on that. So that means that I cannot get rid of this. This is going to be important next episode when I show you guys deck creation. Dead King's Hall. Local Peasant, Devil's Choice, River, and Captain of the Guards. So I gain some new cards that I get to use and that I get to kind of benefit off of. But the dealer's letting me know that if I get better, he does too, which is important. As a reward for defeating the Bandit Jack, you receive Medium Armor, Chains of Rage, Mercenary Contract, Medium Armor, Fortitude's Breath, and Desperate Measures. And for defeating my Bandit Jack, I will give you new challenges. Bandit Attack, Maze of Traps, Goblins.
Shall we deal again?
So now the dealer is ready to play again, and now the game gets real. You notice that the surroundings are starting to lighten up a little bit. That's going to become a little bit more important next episode. And we're going to stop here. I'll catch you guys next time. If you enjoyed watching this, do hit the like button for me. It helps out a ton. It lets me know that you guys want to see more. And if you do want to see more when it comes out, hit subscribe for me, because that way I actually get to show you guys when it goes up. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.